and we have with us Vinuri Silva, who is a marine biologist. We speak a lot about climate change, about environment, pollution. So having a microbiologist, or marine biologist rather, we'll be touching on ocean and how important it is to protect the ocean and why it's important. So we've got Vinuri with us to speak about that. Good morning to you and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Happy New Year. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you with us this morning, Vinuri. So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about yourself. So tell us, why marine biology?
Oh, a lot of people have asked me that. Well, I grew up in Sri Lanka, obviously. I went to Visakha, Vidyalaya, and then Gateway, Colombo. But when we were growing up, marine biology was not an option. It was not something we knew. We just knew the conventional, doctor, lawyer kind of degrees. Those were the options that were given to us, basically. But when I had to go to Adelaide, Australia for my higher studies at the University of Adelaide, I was going through the degrees. I knew I wanted to do something science. I liked science. Then marine biology suddenly popped up, and I was like, yes, because since I was young, I've always been drawn to the water. I've always only done water sports, swimming, water polo, all that. But anyway, because of that, I was like, marine biology definitely makes sense. And there's not a lot of marine biologists in Sri Lanka back then when I picked it, I thought. But surprisingly, there is a few here and there.
I guess so, because there are so many people who are very keen on protecting the planet now. And
yeah, it's very good to see.
It's very good to see that.
Especially the youth, I think, is definitely getting into it. So that's great to see, more than the older generation. But I think with the problems that we're facing, we need to start somewhere. I think school level and the youth should be the place where we start.
And I've met a few people who are very interested in spreading awareness to the rural community about the importance of protecting the ocean and protecting the animal species in the ocean. So let's touch on the, you said that you're based in Adelaide, right?
Yes.
You're doing your research in Adelaide and in Sri Lanka. So tell us a little bit about what you've seen, the situation back in Adelaide and here.
Yeah, so for my fourth year, I had to do a research. My supervisor gave me the freedom to do something from where I'm from, which is Sri Lanka, and she was very good that way. And so I decided to get into the whole plastic issue because I felt like not many people are people are interested in it, but from the scientific side of things, not a lot of researchers were there yet, and the facilities were already given to me in Adelaide, so I was like, okay, definitely I'm going to bring fish from Sri Lanka and look for plastics in them, because I don't think that was done back then. It's just like a year ago. But anyway, then when I went through the guts, so how I did that was I took the gastrointestinal tracts, and with the help of NARA, I exported them to my university in Adelaide. I digested the tracts, and I looked to see what was in them, and then I found a lot of microplastics, which are the word doesn't have a universal definition, but it's usually scientifically now identified as small pieces of plastic that are about 5 millimeters or smaller. So I found a lot of microplastics in the fish I got from Sri Lanka. So another significant thing about that was the fish I looked at. They were not the big ones that we would think, like tuna or anything, salmon or whatnot. I looked at the very smallest fish that we eat, which is in Sinhala we call them halmas. So I also looked at hurula and salio. So why I picked this, me and my supervisor both agreed, because Sri Lankans eat them whole.
Exactly.
We don't take their guts out. Basically, they're way too small. So if there's any plastics in the GI gastrointestinal tracts of these fish, we are definitely eating them. So, which is why I looked at these small fish. So I looked at them from around the country, and I found that over 90% of the fish that I looked at had plastics in them. Then I also compared the same species. I got the same species from Australia as well, and I compared them, obviously. And then I found the Australian ratio was about 40 to 55% of the fish that I looked at in Australia had microplastics. So there's a huge contrasting difference between the two countries. So I think that definitely reflects back to how we get rid of our garbage and how we deal with them.
Exactly, and this is, I think, a very vital topic to be spoken. But before we continue with this topic, we got a couple of messages and some music, and we'll be talking about how the public can play a role in protecting the environment right after that.
Great, thanks.
Protecting the ocean, the environment, and pollution altogether. And Vinuri, let's speak about the role the public could play in terms of protecting the ocean, because we speak of the hierarchy, we speak of state level involvement in protecting the species in the ocean, and also we consume these little fish you are referring to. So it's dangerous if it has plastic in them. So what could we do as the general public, in a layman's point of view, if you could talk about that too?
Yeah, I think we as citizens, we are the people who have the biggest hand or role. We play the biggest role when it comes to plastic, because we in fact are the people who consume and who basically use plastic every day, not just the state level, obviously. So as citizens of this country, I think the laws need to get a bit more strict on this issue. And as humans, even if that doesn't happen, I think we individually should think to ourselves, what can I do as a person, and change our ways when it comes to plastic. I was just talking to a lady just outside, and she was addressing the whole issue about sachet packets. You just use it once and chuck it in the bin.
Yes.
It's very unnecessary. So things like that we can easily cut down. So as the public, as the general public, even water bottles, I was just discussing before, we can substitute the plastic bottles with glass bottles or more harder.
I think we are actually getting there in our country, because we see a lot of glass bottles for sale.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
Which is great. It's eco-friendly. And there's no use speaking about going green if we don't do something about it as well.
Yeah, I think it's the mentality of the public that we definitely need to change. There's no point doing anything else. And I do believe that we need to start at school level and educate the children, because I think our generation is much more interested in the issue, just growing up, seeing the change, seeing how big it's impacting the marine animals or other species. We are very sensitive to the topic as a generation, and we should educate the schools, because the schools, what we learn in school is how we end up. That's how when we turn into adults, the mentality we have is given to us in school or by our parents when we're younger. So we need to change the mindset of the children. So this problem will stop when we become adults and our generation takes over, hopefully.
Exactly, because they are the future. And speaking of social media now, I mean, I think there's a lot about climate change currently. And it has been a massive issue in Australia. And they're speaking about it forever, having protests and trying to sort out the matter of bushfires and all that. So I guess this is what we do to the planet. So we need to do something about it. But we speak of plastic bottles and sachets and shopping bags and all that. But we sometimes forget that we tend to use a lot of sanitary napkins. And we also end up using one-time disposable tissue packets, which also comes in polythene covers. So I think we need to curb this issue as a public, because there are alternatives for all this.
Yeah, exactly. That is very true. I feel like we always go for the cheaper option, which is understandable with the whole situation, economy and everything going on. But if you can make a bit of extra effort, just when you go to the supermarket, carry your bags instead of getting one free plastic bag. And like when you drive on the roads, don't just throw your plastic out of or even just any garbage out of the window. Just like little things we do. As you said, even like tissue packets, we can easily substitute that with a box of tissues. Just grab some and put it in your purse. You don't need a plastic packet covering your tissues. So it's 100% our mentality that we need to change. We shouldn't be like, oh, that person did it, so I'm just going to do it because it's cheaper and easier. We need to ourselves think, okay, I don't care if they don't do it, I'm going to do it. That is the mentality we need to get to. And if you see someone doing something, speak up. I think that's also a big issue. This is a big difference I see in the country, in Australia and Sri Lanka, not just even Australia, I think even other countries, because people speak up there. If they see someone just littering, they would go up to them and be like, what are you doing? Pick it up.
Yeah, they're not that confident to do that.
Exactly, but I think you should get there. If one person does it, one person takes a picture of someone doing it, they're scared of that now, right?
They're scared of getting bad publicity.
On social media.
Exactly.
Like people do that for all these vehicle regulations.
Yes, and they do that for harassments and stuff like that. So why not for this?
Maybe start something like that in Sri Lanka, because it's a small community here. Everyone knows everyone. It's gonna get somewhere, I think. Just we need to start something. Otherwise, if you just like look away, it's only gonna get worse. And we're gonna lose. We actually, as a country that's got a huge tourism income, and we were named the number one island from Lonely Planet. We've got like so much potential, but we as the humans and as the public, we are ruining it. A lot of people who come to Sri Lanka would talk about obviously all the nice things that they see, but they would also be like, oh, traffic was bad and there was a lot of garbage everywhere. That's what they say, yeah.
We don't need that kind of publicity, of course. So I think, the little action we do also counts. And as you did mention, the public plays a pivotal role in protecting the environment.
100%.
And what do you intend to do for the country now that you're starting your PhD as well on this, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, actually. So my honors year, I had to do a research. That's what I just spoke about. So Nara in Colombo helped me out a lot. So for my PhD, that's a 3 to 4 year study. I'm hoping to incorporate Sri Lanka into that as well, because in Adelaide, there may be technology that we don't have in Sri Lanka, so I can help out in that way. I will contribute scientifically, like how I just did with the facts, but that's all I can do as a scientist or marine biologist, I guess. The rest is up to the general public to change your mentality and substitute with other substitutes, basically.
Exactly. So I would like to wish you all the very best with your PhD, and thank you so much for not forgetting home.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we were in conversation with Vinuri Silva, daughter of Shavendra Silva, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to excel in whatever you're doing. And thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And have a splendid 2020.